So hey anime fans. The series name is What If Naruto Fell in Love with Kurenai? So let's start the series. Someone's doomsday weapon and the sixth headmaster. The sun was beaming and birds were soaring across the sky on this lovely day. And a gentle, cool draft for Super 7 and Team 8 was whimsically blown by a wind. Super 7 and Team 8 were returning to hide Ninja Village from the mission in Suna when they were ambushed by Sound Ninjas. The Sound Ninjas' goal was to retrieve Naruto's friend, who had left the village 6 months prior due to betrayal. Orochimaru was a gay jerk, for that reason. In his room, the snake-like man almost made an attempt to caress Naruto's pal, and even made an attempt to do it with him. A buddy of Naruto departed Odokage for that reason. And is that the name of the Sound Village? The two teams were able to stop the Sound Ninjas. All of the team members were fine and only slightly hurt, but Naruto took the most damage. If the sixth headmaster hadn't been there to save him, he would have been fried by Katon's spirit art. At that point, they decided to find a campsite so that everyone's wounds could heal. As the sun started to set, Naruto could still recall what had happened the night before. A flashback. At night, with the exception of his eyes and 2 openings in his nostrils for breathing, Naruto was completely dressed in white bandages as he lay on the ground. Some people have compared him to the mummy because of how nearly entirely covered he was. He was staring at the fire that kept him warm by flickering embers. He noticed a full moon shining brightly in the starry sky, which made it somewhat apparent from the surrounding area. Currently, Naruto was camped in the forest directly next to the road, and every time he moved, his burns continued to sting a little. He should be well in a day or 2 because the renowned orange fur ball of Hide Ninja Village is healing him. When he heard footsteps to his right, he turned to find a female approaching him wearing a red dress and pink hair. Sakura-chan, Naruto muttered softly. Sakura began changing his bandages, saying, "I'm going to change your bandages, Naruto." If a large draft hadn't come from behind her and allowed Naruto to peer up under her skirt, she would have been on her way back to her destination when she said, "Thanks, Sakura-chan." As soon as Sakura noticed Naruto staring up at her skirt, a small amount of blood began to trickle down his nose. A loud cry soon attracted everyone's attention. "Anardio!" She refused to accept Naruto's attempt to reason with her, saying, "Wait. You don't understand." "Liar! You!" Smack plus. Damn. Crunch plus. Pervert. Sakura grabbed Naruto and hurled him as hard as she could into the bushes. Whizzes plus. Scrunch plus. When sixth headmaster arrived to investigate, he saw Sakura furiously furious and Naruto battered and bruised in the bushes. Now, there's no need to kill your teammate," sixth headmaster told Sakura. Sakura answered the sixth headmaster. "But he looked up in my skirt." The sixth headmaster gave the instruction. "I know, now go fix up your teammate." He didn't know what had happened, and he didn't want his classmates to think poorly of him. Sakura simply followed her instructions. The end of the flashback. When that occurred, Naruto shuddered. The anguish was greater than that of Katon's spirit art. Here, sixth headmaster is carrying him in a piggyback ride while he is still covered in bandages. Cute Ninja is attempting to converse with him without stammering or twiddling her fingers. As they got closer to the gates, night was almost upon them. Naruto nearly shivered and laughed at the same moment due to a spontaneous imagination. The wild imagination of Naruto's. "Say my name, bitch!" said the adorable ninja, her jacket unbuttoned to show a fishnet shirt, and she raised a whip in her left hand. It was none other than Niji who kept repeating, "Cute ninja-sama! Cute ninja-sama! Cute ninja-sama!" He was wearing only his underwear, his eyes were closed, and tears were streaming from them. Additionally, Cute Ninja had a leash around his neck, her foot on his butt, and she was holding the leash. The end of imagination. If she were like that in real life, Naruto would tremble and stay away from her. They were presently in front of Hyde Ninja Village's gates. About 2 weeks have passed since the village's gates opened at night to let them in. With a strange sparkle in his eye, like a mad scientist who created the ultimate doomsday weapon, the sixth headmaster asked, "Kurenai, could you please take Naruto to the hospital and watch my student for a bit? Don't worry, I will do your reports for you and let you know I will take over." Kurenai blushed and said, Okay, feeling skeptical of his actions as well. Kurenai placed Naruto on her shoulder and left for the hospital after removing him from sixth headmaster's back. "Okay. You guys can do whatever you want for tonight," was all that was stated before the sixth headmaster vanished into a cloud. With headmaster number 6. The sixth headmaster laughed evilly and emerged in the shadowy woodland rather than in the headmaster's office. A childlike voice said, "So, where are they?" "As you wish," was all the figure could say as he made his way to the hospital. "They are heading towards the Hyde Ninja Village Hospital," sixth headmaster said, laughing evilly. "So hurry up and proceed with the plan before they get suspicious of me." The sixth headmaster then offered his final evil chuckle before vanishing into the headmaster's office in a cloud of smoke. Including the figure. Viewpoint of strangers. I still recall how I met sixth headmaster while racing through the trees to complete my mission. I was planning to do something cunning to Naruto, but sixth headmaster caught me and made me tell him what I was going to do to Naruto. I thought my plan would fail, but sixth headmaster laughed and assured me that he would assist me. That day, I was glad my little plot had survived. The sixth headmaster gave me a little scroll before he left on his mission with the squad, so I stopped close to the streets and took it out. 2 KTGS. Your mission begins in the forest. After I get back from my mission, I'll check to see if Naruto is hurt from it. If he recovers quickly, I'll tell Sakura to take off his bandages and use a wind spirit art to create a little draft that will let Naruto see Sakura's skirt. If not, I'll use some of my ideas to keep him hurt without them realizing. Here are your goals, and I will instruct Yuhi Kurenai, teammate sensei, to take Naruto to the hospital. Goal 1. Track down Kurenai and Naruto. Goal number 2. Follow them covertly to their goal. Goal 3. Don't worry about not knowing which room they are in. I placed a bug on Kurenai's forehead protector without her knowledge and used the video system control. Wait outside until everyone is asleep, then sneak into the hospital. Make sure you take the pills I gave you and swallow them with water to keep you awake. Goal number 4. Follow through on the strategy and remember to apply the trick I told you. I'll act as though I neglected to inform Kurenai that I was about to assume control, and we'll meet up in the forest to discuss the outcome of your scheme. Regards, sixth headmaster. After reading the scroll, I made sure I had everything I needed, including a long rope, a video system control that would let me observe Kurenai's destination, 3 bottles of water, a tiny bottle of tablets, and a kunai. And the item that will ensure the success of my plan. After removing the face mask, I put on a set of black ninja attire. I then leaped to the tallest tree and then again to land on the roofs. I continued to jump till I saw Yuhi Kurenai, a woman, carrying Naruto as she was wrapped in white bandages. I never imagined seeing someone so beautiful, but I just started to perspire and thought, I guess sixth headmaster overdid it. The first goal has been accomplished. Now time to start. I interrupted myself in the middle of my statement, and had to hastily hide before she saw. She was peering about from atop the buildings. I really hope she didn't see me because it was so dark outside. Alongside Kurenai. Kurenai stared about her and at the roofs, thinking, I'm sure someone is following us. When Sixth Head Master reported on her team's success, she had a gut feeling that she shouldn't believe him. She shivered at the odd glance from the Sixth Head Master, but she ignored it and continued on her way. Returning to Stranger's perspective. Since I don't want her to believe she has a stalker, I was just relieved she didn't notice me. I then carried out Objective 2 and made my way covertly to her destination. I spotted a tree nearby and leaped over it, but Kurenai stopped when I landed, so I had to hide in the leaves to avoid her noticing me again. Thankfully, the Sixth Head Master taught me how to conceal my chakra, and I saw her travel once again to her destiny. Soon after, I started to follow her. After 30 minutes, I quickly came across the hospital and located a hiding spot. I walked stealthily and made sure Kurenai couldn't hear me. I went to where I was hidden, pulled out the switch for the video system, turned it on, and put on the headphones. When I looked at my watch, I saw that it was 10:30 p.m. I pulled out a tablet, swallowed it, and started drinking water. I should be up for another 2 hours because of it. POV conclusion. While keeping an eye on his VSC, the figure noticed which room Naruto was assigned to. He looked up the hospital and remarked, "Room 117. That's a bit high. It should be on the 3rd floor." Soon, nurses and doctors started to leave the building. As he approached the hospital's main door, the figure cautioned himself. "Well, the mission seems easier than I thought. Better watch out for the Jounin." The knob was locked when he turned it. He remarked, "Locked? I'd better use that trick," as he unlocked the door with a piece of wire. He then proceeded to his goal. Later, he turned the knob and entered room 117, which was immediately in front of him. He emerged, silently shut the door, and spoke the words, "Plan completed," while removing his face mask to unveil Hyde Ninja Village Emeru. As he returned to his destination, all he said was, "Now time to tell the results to Sixth Head Master, he 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 he." In the morning, at the hospital. "Must have fallen asleep. I'm going to kill Sixth Head Master for forgetting to come here to take over last night," Kurenai said angrily as she woke up and stretched until she realized something was holding her right arm down. "What the hell?" she exclaimed as she looked to her right, and Naruto woke up and looked to his left, which made him freeze in place. "Huh!" There was a long silence, and a handcuff was locked on both Kurenai's and Naruto's right wrist. And in front of the door, they heard what sounded like laughter. They noticed Hyde Ninja Village Emeru laughing wildly as they turned to face the front door. "Looks like you two are stuck together," laughed Hyde Ninja Village Emeru. Kurenai attempted to break the shackle with a kunai, but he was unable to do so by cutting and slicing it. Naruto firmly told him to stop talking, saying, "Hyde Ninja Village Emeru," Naruto said. "Give us the key." Hyde Ninja Village Emeru retorted, "But I don't have the key." The two shivered to stillness and turned to face Kurenai, who was wearing an angry grimace. Hyde Ninja Village Emeru turned tail and fled after saying, "You!" Kurenai exclaimed, "Little brat!" and chased Hyde Ninja Village Emeru, who dragged Naruto off the bed. Hyde Ninja Village Emeru fled to the window and sprang off the building, and Kurenai followed suit, dragging poor Naruto into the air. Yes, Hyde Ninja Village Emeru and the Sixth Head Master, their archenemy, were victorious, and it was doomsday for Naruto and Kurenai. "You tiny brat, come back here," was audible throughout the town of Hyde Ninja. The handcuff completed its task, holding Naruto and Kurenai close together until the appropriate moment to release their wrists. Two figures were seen chasing after the third's grandson, or more precisely, a poor blue-eyed boy with blonde hair was being dragged off his feet with a handcuff stuck on his left wrist while the lady was on her right. The first was an irate red-eyed woman with black hair. Naruto had never seen Kurenai so furious before, so he mentally noted that he should never aggravate Kurenai. His thoughts were cut off as he struck a wall with his chest. "Oh, FFFFF! Kurenai was too angry to hear his agonized groan when his chest struck the wall, and it stung like hell. Hyde Ninja Village Emerald was terrified and running like a demon was pursuing him. He now regretted coming up with and carrying out the plan, which resulted in a gorgeous red-eyed female demon that was now pursuing him with rage. All he could hope was that his life wouldn't end too soon. How dare he tie me and Naruto together with a handcuff that can't be broken, was Kurenai's only thought as she pursued the troublesome child. She was so furious that not even a couple of jounins could stop her. A certain shadow user sneezed somewhere in the meadows. Hyde Ninja Village Emerald made the decision to flee into the forest, and Kurenai quickly followed, not realizing that she was pulling Naruto with her. Naruto turned to face the direction Kurenai was fleeing and gazed into the forest. He was similar to Oo. Kurenai leaped toward the branches, and all he could say was, "Oh!" when the trees appeared. Pow plus. Bip plus. Bop plus. Thud plus. Crunch. Crash plus. Smack plus. Scrunch plus. Pow plus. Smack plus. Crunch. Crash plus. And Kurenai kept pursuing Hyde Ninja Village Emerald at a high speed. After 30 minutes, OFFF, as he glanced over his shoulder and gazed at his soon-to-be killer, Hyde Ninja Village Emerald stumbled over a tree stump. After striking all those trees and branches that rendered Naruto unconscious, Kurenai landed on her feet, while the battered, bruised, and unconscious Naruto dropped awkwardly on his chest. Kurenai quickly approached her prey while dragging Naruto on the ground with a furious expression. Wait! She exclaimed. I am able to explain. Don't kill me, please. As he started to cry and stare at his would-be killer, Hyde Ninja Village Emerald let out a cry of terror. The red-eyed female demon approached him and gave him a menacing smile. The guys trembled as the sound reverberated across Hyde Ninja Village. After 15 minutes, we left the jungle. Soon after, Kurenai and the now conscious Naruto emerged from the forest with a contented smile on her face. Hyde Ninja Village Emerald was after them, slouching his back and massaging his butt. Dude, did she really spank me that hard? And have me explain everything, even why I did it? Hyde Ninja Village Emerald painfully complained as he rubbed his butt to ease the pain. What was that? Kurenai questioned dangerously. Nothing, Hyde Ninja Village Emerald yelled in a hurry since he didn't want to go through the suffering once more. Maybe I should tell Headmaster Sama about our situation. But everyone will laugh at us, and the handcuff is unbreakable, not even a kunai can break it and flames wouldn't melt the chain. Kurenai thought, and she cursed Hyde Ninja Village Emerald and 6th Headmaster for getting her in this situation. She got the information from Hyde Ninja Village Emerald that 6th Headmaster was also responsible for this whole thing. 6th Headmaster helped Hyde Ninja Village Emerald with his plan for a reason, and Hyde Ninja Village Emerald does not know 6th Headmaster's reason why he helped him with his plan. Hyde Ninja Village Emerald was told to lock the handcuff onto her wrist and Naruto's wrist so they will be stuck together. She also now knew this handcuff was really old and unbreakable. Kunai can't cut it off, fire can't melt it either. Hyde Ninja Village Emerald told her that the handcuff can unclick themselves if a certain event happens to them. Kurenai asked what this event was, but he said he doesn't know, and there was no key for that handcuff. That was all the information he got from 6th Headmaster, and it was 6th Headmaster's plan. The handcuff Hyde Ninja Village Emerald was going to use on Naruto was new and meltable and breakable. And Cute Ninja would just love to be in her shoes now, and she was stuck with Cute Ninja's crush now. Kurenai thought. Cute Ninja would love to be in my shoes now. I just hope that she doesn't find out about my feelings for him. She still remembered the day that 6th Headmaster asked her to take Naruto to the Hyde Ninja Village Hospital after he had managed to capture her during her own mission, and was planning to rape and kill her after their brief session. When she arrived at his room in the hospital, she had to resist the urge to unwrap the bandages covering his mouth and give him a quick kiss. But she felt as though she was going to take Naruto from Cute Ninja, and she just didn't want Cute Ninja to find out about her feelings for him. A shy heiress sneezed somewhere in the compound. Kurenai now knew why the sixth headmaster had instructed Hyde Ninja Village Emeru to handcuff her and Naruto. He knew that I was in love with Naruto, and his little scheme was to make sure that I would lose it and tell him how much I love him. She blushed as she thought about that last part in private. Naruto had no idea that Kurenai was in love with him when she was caring for him at the hospital. All he remembered was that this morning, Kurenai had been furious and had chased Hyde Ninja Village Emeru, dragging him along with her and crashing straight into trees and branches. Naruto shivered, and he did not want to go through the agony of colliding with trees and branches once more. In Kurenai's thoughts, an image of sixth headmaster wearing a white scientist coat with a mad expression on his face. Well, you can tell by looking at his eye, with the forehead protector covering his right eye and the face mask covering his mouth and nose. He was rubbing both hands together, and behind him there was a big object covered by a large white cloth, and the area around him was filled with technology. And you know about a mad scientist, right? In the actual world. I guess I'm so hungry right now since we missed breakfast, Naruto said sheepishly, placing his right hand on the back of his head while blushing slightly. Kurenai sighed and said, "We'll go to Headmaster Sama first to tell her about our situation to her." Naruto turned white with a dreaded feeling as they both vanished in a puff of smoke to the headmaster's office. Kurenai was relieved that sixth headmaster was not evil after all these years. In the office of the headmaster, with a tower of paperwork and a couple of sake bottles on her desk, Tsunade was not a happy woman. She was holding a bottle of sake and working on some paper when she sighed in frustration and was ready to stop working on her paperwork when a puff of smoke appeared in front of her. Tsunade noticed that Naruto was standing next to Kurenai as the smoke cleared, and she was about to ask him what he was doing with Kurenai when she noticed that there was a handcuff on Naruto's left wrist and another on Kurenai's right. Kurenai was actually trying to remain calm because her anger towards the sixth headmaster was rising, and she just hoped he didn't walk in and embarrass herself in front of the headmaster. "Oh," Tsunade said. Tsunade chuckled heartily as she realized that they appeared to be bound together. "Bwahahaha! Hey! That isn't amusing!" Naruto shouted at her in anger and a vein popped in his head. A vein popped on Kurenai's head too. Soon Tsunade regained her breath and asked, "How did this happen to you two?" As she smiled mischievously, Tsunade had a notion to torment them a little. "Hyde Ninja Village Emeru did this to us while we were unconscious in the hospital." "In the same room? Were you two? You are aware of, similar to Mushi Mushi?" Kurenai turned red as she sputtered some excuses in response to Tsunade's teasing. Naruto was looking perplexed. He had no idea what this Mushi Mushi was and had no intention of asking about it. The teasing soon ended when Kurenai stopped sputtering excuses and said, "Okay, I have a solution." Before explaining the solution, after 15 minutes, there was a lengthy pause between them after she concluded her explanation of their tasks. In addition, Naruto was no longer wearing bandages and was fully recovered by Tsunade's healing spirit arts. "What? We have to live together, eat together, spend time together, and sleep on the same bed," yelled Kurenai and Naruto. "Yes, that's the only solution I have, Naruto. I will have to tell your team that you can't come to training and missions," Naruto yelled. Kurenai and Naruto disappeared into a cloud of smoke after saying, "And Kurenai, I will tell your team the training and missions are cancelled." Outside. When Kurenai and Naruto emerged from the smoke outside, refusing to look at one another, Naruto made the decision to say, "So, would you like to go grab a bite to eat?" Naruto asked, still not looking at her. "Sure," Kurenai replied, still not looking at him either. And they decided to head to Ichiraka's and walk there. As they walked towards their destination, they attracted many stares from the villagers, and they were uncomfortable with the stares. The pair had different thoughts. Man, they stare at us like we're new species, was Naruto's thoughts as he grew uncomfortable with the stares. They stare at us like we're a new couple. That thought made Kurenai blush as she also grew uncomfortable with the stares. They soon reached to Ichiraka's and the pair took a seat next to each other. And the handcuffs is stuck on their wrists. The owner of the stand noticed his favorite customer sitting next to a beautiful woman, a kunoichi to be exact. A sudden thought made the owner of the ramen stand grin lecherously. Hey Naruto, who's she? Your recent girlfriend? The owner of the ramen stand asked and teased at the same time. The statement on the last part of his sentence caused both Kurenai and Naruto to turn beet red. No! Please, it's not like that! Sure it is, Ichiraka said, still grinning, in response to Naruto's yell. So, what do you two want? Ichiraka said. I want miso ramen. I'll have beef ramen, Naruto said joyfully. They'll be coming right up, was all Ichiraka answered as he headed to the stand's kitchen to take their orders. I guess we'll be stuck together for a while, was the idea that was going through both of their minds as the ramen arrived and they started eating. Later, after eating their small breakfast, they went for a walk together and spent the rest of the day chatting, laughing, and eating lunch and dinner. It was evening, and the orange skies and clouds were beginning to turn a little dark. The two talked about their past experiences, both good and bad, and Kurenai laughed at what Naruto had said. It's not amusing. Why, yes it is! Naruto yelled at her. Between giggles, Kurenai answered. Why, you kissed Uchiha Naruto's companion in front of the classroom? Kurenai asked, trying to calm herself down. No! I was suddenly shoved from behind by a guy. Kurenai looked up into the sky and saw that it was growing dark. We should go home, Kurenai remarked, trying not to flush. Which home? Is it yours or mine? Mine, Kurenai replied coolly when Naruto inquired. Later once more. There was a kitchen, a bathroom, a living room, and a bedroom that was supposed to be Kurenai's room. They simply said good night and went to bed, waiting for the next day. Kurenai opened the door and they entered the clean, tidy apartment, which included a portrait of the young Kurenai and her family. He was approaching King Ramen of the Ramen Kingdom, who resembled a massive bowl of miso ramen with thin arms and legs and a crown on top of his head. King Ramen was carrying a shield in his right arm and a short double-edged sword in his left. Curse you, King Ramen said. You have devoured too many of my Ramenians and I will stop you before you take too many lives. A group of broken bowls, formerly known as the Ramen Knights, with some noodles in the bowl and some splattered on the ground, as well as spears, lances, swords, and shields strewn all over the floor, were behind the person when King Ramen roared the final portion in rage. I will vanquish you and save my land! That was all he said as the huge bowl of ramen dashed towards the person with the sword raised. The stranger just drew a kunai and blocked the sword, parried it away and thrusted his kunai. King Ramen blocked the kunai with his shield and he spun around and did a horizontal strike. But the sword just met the silent air. He felt something on top of him, and he looked ahead to his horror. He saw a mirror that had the stranger that stood on top of his reflection with a pair of sticks. You're next, the stranger said hungrily as he got inside King Ramen's head. Ayahahe! My brains! My brains! In the castle, King Ramen let out a scream. Later, King Ramen lay still on the floor behind him as the stranger slurped and swallowed the final noodle. Well, time to search for some Ramenian survivors. The stranger simply smiled predatorily as he approached the open window and leaped off. After several years, the demon that attacked the Ramen Kingdom and its favorite Ramenians was later described in history books by the Ramenian survivors who were able to escape from the predator. According to the person's perspective, the history books said the following. Ramen beefy. We were having a good day 16 years ago when a demon attacked Ramen Kingdom to hunt the Ramenians for food. The demon came from the forest side, and I saw it eat the brains of the villagers. It was a terrifying sight, similar to what a predator would do to a prey. I also saw it attack anyone who tried to flee, and then I saw it rush to the castle and kill the guards and the other Ramen knights. I heard King Ramen's voice screaming, "My brains!" So I hid somewhere. When it emerged from the castle, it introduced itself as Uzumaki Nerda and attacked the other villagers. The conclusion. When Nerda realized it was only a dream, he calmed himself after waking up with a slight gasp. He felt something on his chest and a gentle breeze on his neck from his left, which gave him strange and thrilling emotions that he was able to repress. Insert Titanic song. My heart will go on. He turned to his left and saw Kurenai sleeping soundly, with her left arm resting on his chest. His face turned beet red, and he tried to move a little further, but Kurenai moved her body against his and cuddled up against him, keeping her arm on his chest. He was unable to move because Kurenai had unconsciously chosen to move very close to him because doing so would wake him up and get his morning beat up, and he couldn't even notice that his face was getting closer to hers. He felt her breathing in and out as their lips approached, but he backed his head away and blushed. "You're not like that. You like Sakura-chan. Not Kurenai-sensei," he thought as he lay motionless on the bed and stared at the ceiling. "Have to get used to this, it really feels nice," he thought as he closed his eyes and fell into a long, dreamless sleep. End of song. Kurenai screamed a little as she retreated just enough to avoid pulling Nerda over with a handcuff on her right wrist when she woke up 30 minutes later and discovered that she was cuddling Nerda very close. Wah! According to Nerda, who had just rubbed his eyes and pretended to wake up, he looked at Kurenai, who had her back to him so he wouldn't see her flushed face. Kurenai was able to control her blush and said she had to go take a shower in the bathroom, but first she needed to gather her belongings and drag Nerda with her. In the restroom, contrary to popular belief. As he listened to Kurenai showering, Nerdo stood close to the shower with the curtain covering his eyes and a piece of clothing tied around his head. He was instructed to wear the garment around his head, but he did so without knowing why until he heard her clothes being torn and stopped wandering around that area. Her clothes were all ripped apart on the floor, and Nerdo simply stood there in silence, trying not to picture Kurenai naked. Later, after drying off and putting on her clothes, Kurenai held the right side of her garments so Nerda wouldn't see her privates. They went to the living room, where she pulled out a small basket, a needle, and a long string, instructing Nerda to untie the garment around his head while she held the right side of her garments so Nerda could assist in stitching the side of her garments back up. Much later, once they had finished sewing her clothes, they walked back to the restroom to let Nerda wash his face before heading outside to figure out how to break or release the shackles. For him, it's just another typical day. He's walking through Hyde Ninja Village on his usual path, which usually takes him to the adult bookstore. He would look for some Cum Paradise books there, buy them, and then head back to continue his walk before heading to Super 7 training grounds. However, he knew that Kurenai was going to flay him alive for what he had done to her and Nerda. She would likely skin his flesh and hang his leftover skin to the top of the pole like a Hyde Ninja Village flag. He shuddered at the thought that he definitely didn't want to lose his precious beautiful skin. Yes, he did learn about Kurenai's special feelings for his blonde student, which shocked and surprised him. He still remembered how he learned about it prior to embarking on a mission with Kurenai's team. A flashback. The sixth headmaster was so bored that he wanted to scream in frustration. He looked around his apartment, which included a small kitchen, a table and chair, a couch across from a window, his bed, and a dresser above the window. He was so bored that he closed his only eye for a while before deciding to go for a walk around the streets. He went to the door, opened it, and stepped outside. As he started to move through the streets, he was greeted by a warm and inviting sunlight that washed over him. A few people greeted him and passed him, and just as he was about to turn, he saw Kurenai across from him with that focused expression on her face before an idea struck, and he hurriedly looked for a place to hide. Kurenai continued walking in the direction of where he had been standing, passing a garbage can on the way to her destination, and if she had turned around, she would have seen that the lid of the trash can had opened just enough for someone to peek out and see what was going on. The sixth headmaster was relieved that he had sufficiently suppressed his chakra to avoid detection, so he picked up the banana peel from his silver hair and tossed it in the trash can before following Kurenai to her destination. He had to be extremely careful not to be detected because he knew she was a jounin, and if he was, he knew the consequence spelling was extremely dangerous. Later, Kurenai finally arrived at her apartment after she took out her key, unlocked her door, and entered. Sixth headmaster was trying to figure out how to get in without being caught, so he started Operation Secret Hide Ninja Village Spy sixth headmaster style. For minutes after he had been surreptitiously checking around the apartment, he saw a window, which was closed, but he could see a picture through it, but it was too dark for him to see while he was outside. "I bet I could see it if I went inside, but how do I sneak in?" was his thought as he repressed his chakra, lay flat on the ground, crawled to the window, pressed his body against the apartment wall, and he heard very faint footsteps inside and faintly heard her speaking to something. He sworn that he heard, "My, aren't you such a cute one?" coming from Kurenai's own mouth. He decided it was time that he should peek at the window and see what made her say that. He slowly rose into a crouching position and slowly peeked his head up to the window just in time to see Kurenai kiss a picture before putting it back into her dresser as she left the room. He quickly ran behind her apartment before tripping from a rock and fell to the grass as he got up and quickly ran and hid behind her apartment just in time to hear the door opening and closing. He peeked at the corner and saw Kurenai walking away from her apartment. An idea lit up in his head and rubbed his hands together with a mad look in his eye. "I wonder which guy has caught her eye. Maybe a little peek wouldn't hurt," was sixth headmaster's thoughts evil as he approached her apartment after she had disappeared. It was all he could do to keep it a secret, even though it was his first time breaking into someone's apartment from his own village, which is against the law there. He still recalled the door problem at her place. When he noticed that her door had 4 locks, each with a different style, the sixth headmaster lost his cool. One of the locks worked for him, but the others were a mystery. Then he used his trick. She had 4 locks on her door because she was so paranoid. After 45 minutes, there. It took him nearly an hour to unlock every door, and now where was that room? He then made the bold decision to visit her apartment. He noticed that the floors were spotless, that the books were properly arranged on the shelves, that there was a lovely couch, a room that went to the kitchen, and 3 doors that led to different areas. He then proceeded to open them. Perhaps this one? Nope, this one leads to the restroom? No. Well, here it is. As he opened the door and entered the room, he thought excitedly. Even though it was just a typical bedroom with a large bed, a coffee table beside it, and a window, he eventually located the photo that he was unable to see outside. It showed Kurenai and her family, all of them grinning. He ignored them as he approached the dresser, looked at the top drawer where she had placed the photo, and opened it. In his eyes, he saw heaven. What did he observe? The clothes he saw were the most amazing, smoothest, cleanest, and most divine things he had ever wished to own. The clothes that were in the drawer in front of him were the best, cutest, and most adorable. They were panties and bras. He quickly grabbed the underwear and placed one on top of his head. He then grabbed the bra and wrapped it around his shoulders, giggling like a schoolgirl as he rummaged through the underwear and bras in a desperate attempt to learn more about the man who had captured her interest. Before long, he discovered the face-down photo in the drawer. It was this. And now there's no going back. It's time to learn more about the unidentified man she likes. He turned around quite slowly after arriving at the picture. Sweat trickled down the left side of his face, and his heart started to race. In his ears, he heard an unfamiliar ringing that gradually increased in volume as the image nearly came into view, and then it became quiet. He never, ever thought he would see the man in the photo. The man in the photo was none other than Uzumaki Naruto, who was grinning and making a peace sign with his fingers. The photograph gradually slipped from his grasp as the sixth headmaster retreated, startled that Kurenai liked his pupil but also taken aback that Naruto had attracted the interest of one Yuhi Kurenai. He continued to back away from the dresser, snapping the invisible line behind his feet without even realizing it. Sixth headmaster's bra flew off his shoulders and the panty flew off his head as he jumped at the noises of windows and doors closing and locks locking themselves in place. There was only one thing left to do after he dashed to the living room and hurried to the door, only to discover it was locked. He attempted to remove the 4 locks, but they were jammed. He sprinted toward the door faster than the eye could follow, and quickly retreated from it in the distance. Using his entire body as a weapon, he burst through the door and swiftly fled her flat, leaving the underwear on the apartment floor and a human-shaped hole there until it is discovered. End of flashback. By doing further surveillance, he was able to learn how she felt about his blonde student and how much she genuinely loved him. The sixth headmaster initially rejected it, but eventually he understood her and came to terms with it. He had a very bad notion since she refused to admit that she loved him. He had heard about unbreakable handcuffs, or sacred handcuffs, as the elders refer to them. They were supposedly built in the ancient world and were so impenetrable that even flames could not melt them. He searched the wilderness for days in an attempt to locate it. He located the handcuffs, carried them with him, and used them on Kurenai and Naruto. Nevertheless, he needed to devise a strategy for approaching them without getting killed. He located Hyde Ninja Village Emaru, and shared his small scheme with him. At that point, he left with his team and teammate to go on the assignment. And here he is, keeping a close check on everything to make sure his fellow jounin and student won't ambush and torment him till the conclusion of the day. He kept moving through Hyde Ninja Village's streets until he came upon a well-known stand. He sensed a massive deadly intent behind him, which froze him in his tracks just as he was about to walk to that stand. When he cautiously turned around, he saw Kurenai trembling with anger and a scared, stiff blonde lad by her side. He uttered the first thing that sprang to mind. "Oh shit," he exclaimed as he sprinted ahead, the red-eyed demoness, and the unfortunate blue-eyed lad following. The silver-haired jounin ran as fast as his legs would carry him in an attempt to escape the furious kunoichi pursuing him. She was obviously upset with him for what he had done to her, and he would prefer not to stop now because he could see in her eyes that she would probably tear him to pieces and feed his leftover guts to the dogs. He was well aware of the terrible fury in her eyes and the irate look on her delicate, angelic face. In his experiences throughout the conflict, he recognized that sprint from the way she pursued him. He has witnessed everything. The speed at which she ran. The way she gazed at him, disregarding her surroundings. He's witnessed it all. It was 12 years ago on that battleground, at Fire Country's boundaries. She will do whatever it takes to kill him, pursuing him non-stop until either she is hit or she captures and tortures him. Thus, he rushed as quickly as he could. He kept trying to flee alive, and as Kurenai began to close in on him, Sixth Headmaster turned to the left at the street's corner, her hand barely grazing his vest by an inch as he fled. Kurenai stopped and pursued Sixth Headmaster, forgetting the handcuffs on her wrist and the little blonde, orange-clad, blue-eyed shinobi who had been by her side the entire time and was clinging to his life. Kurenai-sensei has previously shown her anger, but it has never been this intense. He is obviously upset with 6th Head Master Sensei for what he did to them as well, but he was too preoccupied with preserving his life to prevent his left wrist from being severed by that unforgiving handcuff that is difficult to cut in half and for which there is no key. Damn this thing in the first place! If there was a way to cut the chain, or if there was a key, he would have used his Rasengan against the 6th Head Master, chorused the answers out of Hyde Ninja Village Emeru, and shoved it up his ass.